Good news plus bad news equals noise. The facts are in the Bitcoin chart. What an absolute shit show. This market never ceases to amaze me. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. So much to talk about today that I couldn't help myself. I just had to chime in. And if you haven't seen the news, you know, we actually started the day with some really positive news coming out of Coinbase, where the SEC had dropped their lawsuit against Coinbase on some regulatory issues. That really an overall net positive for the broader crypto market. Sure, Coinbase benefits from that, and so will their stock price. But in the grand scheme of things, it really was a huge win for U.S.-based traders, crypto traders, and investors. And you know, we were seeing some nice price appreciation. We'll get into that and whether or not that seemed legit or not to begin with. And then, of course, this afternoon, we hear of a hack or an alleged hack at ByBit and perhaps some solvency issues. And obviously, we're seeing price take a dump from there. Now, interestingly, before I was privy to any of this news, I did my normal, morning analysis on X and in our Telegram group, and posted what I thought was happening, and then of course, we started seeing these things develop and kind of put some, I should say, some news to the price action. So I think this stuff really equates to noise. It really does, and sure, it's a short-term catalyst that pushes price in one direction or the other. But the real story, as I said, is in the charts, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So if you're new to the stream, welcome. Again, my name is Keith Allen. I'm co-founder at Material Indicators. And today we're going to talk about these things, and we're going to look at the charts. We're going to look at what's happening with technical analysis. We're going to look at what's happening with order book liquidity and order flow. And try and make sense of what has been developing in the charts here over the past several days. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, smash some buttons. Hit the most importantly, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of these future streams. Also, if you will, do me a favor, share, welcome some friends into this live stream and help me grow the channel. I truly appreciate that. And above and beyond all, live chat is open on YouTube. Would love to have you join me. We had a great, probably one of the best ones we've had this year. Great live stream the other day where we had a lot of engagement from you guys. And I always appreciate that and enjoy that. So it really makes for a better live stream. So I encourage you to join me on the live chat on YouTube. If you can't live chat, you can, by all means, comment. If you're watching on X, you can comment there, and I will always engage with those comments as well. Hey, Trung, nice to have you with me. Let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing I want to do today is just kind of show you this timeline of events. So what I'm going to do is show you my X timeline. So this morning, I had actually posted that something's going to break. And that was based 100% on what I was seeing in the Bitcoin daily chart. All right. What we have here, the situation we have is price is, we've had a sequence of death crosses here over the past couple of days. And let's see, this was Sunday. So since Sunday, right, we've had a series of death crosses. First, the green 21-day crossing below the 50-day moving average. And then more recently, the green 21-day moving average crossing below the blue 100-day moving average. And so those tend to lead, even though these are lagging indicators, they tend to, express that there's more downside momentum coming, unless, of course, we have a catalyst that recovers things the other way. And so yesterday, we had some positive news that pushed price back above the 100-day moving average, approached but didn't quite hit the 50-day moving average, and there was a rejection. Then this morning, same set of circumstances, hard rejection from that 50-day moving average, and we'll have to put together the timeline. but I believe this happened well before we heard news, or at least certainly before I heard news of what was happening with ByBit. Oh, sorry about that. Just hit a piece of electronics for a second. Hey, Cristoforo, nice to have you with me. I appreciate it. And again, guys, we're going to climb into this stuff. And if you've got questions, you got insights, I'd love to hear from you. So, anyways, back to what we were talking about over at X. And I will explain this theory here in a moment. But this news was a big deal out of Coinbase. Big win for crypto. As I mentioned earlier, we had there was a long pending lawsuit between the SEC going after Coinbase for selling what they had called securities, and of course, there was no clear regulatory definition on some of those things. And obviously, Coinbase had been doing this all along. They were able to file and register as a publicly traded company within this time span, and nobody stopped that. And then suddenly, not so suddenly, Gary Gensler was going after them on a securities sale issue. And based on what I heard in his video, they had spent like $50 million trying to fight this, and the SEC has finally dropped it. So that in itself is a big win for crypto. And then we get a situation where ByBit has a big run on ETH, and now people couldn't get their money. By the way, as I understood it, only the ETH transfers were locked, and if you have other assets that you could get those off of ByBit. Who knows how this will shake out? But I would say, just from experience of getting burned by exchanges who were in situations like this before, and thank God it's been a long time. If you have assets on ByBit and you can get them off, be safe. Better safe than sorry. Just move those funds. I mean, this happened. Something similar happened to me in 2019 on Cryptopia, and guess what? I'm still waiting for my funds. And so, rumor has it that those will be distributed, but I have no confidence in that. So, just if you have funds on ByBit and you can get them off, and don't operate just on what you've heard. Physically try yourself. If you can move those funds out of there, I would suggest you do that just to be safe. Now, in terms of what this means for the broader market, it's a setback, right? We've had this meme coin BS feeling like it's reaching ahead again here this week with the Argentinian president and all that noise, which is really kind of almost a mirror of what happened with our own president and his family launching their own meme coins that took a big fat nosedive. And so, the market's a little frustrated with this kind of stuff. And I've been saying for a long time, at what point does the market mature enough that we get rid of all of this? Like, let's filter out the noise. Let's filter out the garbage and focus on the assets, the asset class, and the projects with real innovation, with real utility, with real use cases, and let those rise to the top and let the rest fade away. And in my opinion, as long as memes are still the most profitable thing in this market, then this market is immature. And I think I'm hopeful that we get to a point where we do mature past this. I mean, it's clear that the market still has an appetite for memes because they're making money off them, and that's everybody's priority. And I would just say that eventually the market is going to mature, and whether it requires institutional involvement to help us get there, or the market matures on its own, highly unlikely, by the way. I think at some point we have to get to the point where there's not tens of thousands of shit coins and memes polluting the market, and quite frankly, making a bad name for the industry and the asset class. And we get back to what's good. And one thing we know is good is Bitcoin. And so we're going to look back at the Bitcoin chart here. Few folks joining me. Don, good to have you. Love all the info you always share with us. Keep up. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Albert, nice to have you with me as well. What do you think? Can this ByBit hack morph into the Black Swan event later? Absolutely, it could. It absolutely could. You have to watch and see, like, is there going to be some contagion? Is there going to be a chain reaction of events like we saw after FTX? I don't have any indication at this point that that's happening, but this is brand new, fresh news. And so we certainly have to be in tune to what's happening with that. And again, I say that these things are noisy events and the charts are going to tell the story. Really strange, the S&P dumping in correlation with this Bitcoin dump. Well, the S&P dump has nothing to do with the ByBit issue. Okay, so there's that. And let's look at what might be more related. And that is simply what we've been seeing in this price action. Okay. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we had these death crosses. And my post this morning, and you can go read it on X if you want. My post on X was talking about this sequence of death crosses and how I felt like that was really signaling that we could see more downside before we saw a sustainable upside move. And I'll be honest with you, this dip that we had the other day, I expected to go deeper. It didn't. Now, did it stop at a random place or a reasonable place? Well, it stopped at a very specific place. It stopped at the yearly open. And so that's noteworthy. That could mean that this becomes our next support level, right? We've had multiple support tests, 11 or 12 of them down here at this 91.6 level. And that was feeling pretty solid. So when I saw these death crosses forming, I was like, are we going to go back there again? And so if this holds, this 93.3 range, if this holds, that would be a reasonable area to call for a new local support level. So, but what happens with local support and resistance? They all need to get tested. And so maybe this is triggering that test into that level. Now, could my death cross theory invalidate? Absolutely, it could invalidate. And all it takes is closing higher above this 50-day moving average, and ultimately, pushing forward. Now, here's where things get dicey for me, and here's where I got suspicious this morning. Ever since price has started recovering from this, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't totally in tune to the fact that this was the yearly open until I went back and analyzed it a little bit deeper. So this is important to me. This is significant. But I felt like the timing of this all, right? It's Friday afternoon. We know what happens on Fridays, right? The market makes a move in the morning, at least on US time. The market makes a move in the morning, positions itself for the weekend whale games that tend to go and punish, weekend retail traders. So when I was seeing develop, and I'm not going to lie, I started getting concerned. It's like I had sold some Bitcoin looking to buy lower. This literally came within a couple $100 of my buy order, and it didn't get filled. And so I was like, did I miss it? Am I going to get another shot? And I think I might get another shot. And the reason why I think I might get another shot at getting filled down here, somewhere between 91 and that 93.5 range, is because we are seeing a breakdown. We did see a hard rejection, 2 rejections here from this 50-day moving average. And what I think is happening is what first began as a short squeeze is developing into has developed into a bull trap. And now, we're heading into the weekend. We're approaching 99K, just wicked past it. Everybody got excited, and then the dump, right? And so this makes sense to me. We've now lost the 21-day moving average again. And to me, that opens the door for more downside until and we're having a discussion in our Telegram channel that you know people want to see a daily close above 99K, which is right around this 50-day moving average. Well, even if we do get that daily close, the fact that it's coming on a Friday makes me think that there's more to the story, right? And you could say, "Oh, Keith, you're just saying this because it's developing now." Well, I could, but you could go back and look at my analysis from earlier this morning before any of this materialized, and my analysis was exactly on point with what I'm saying now, right? We're getting this rejection, and I do expect that we're going to get another retest. Now, we're going to look at liquidity a little bit here in a moment and see if there's enough to support holding this level, or maybe even 95K, or if there's going to be a deeper correction here. But for me, until even if we can flip this 50-day moving average, until we can RS flip and validate an RS flip above this 100K level and start consolidating above here, I don't think there's a sustainable run at the new all-time high and price discovery until that happens, right? So sure, we could wick up, we could chop up here, we could wick back down. As long as we are wicking back below this 100K level, and gosh, we haven't been up there for a couple of weeks now. Thought we might make a run at it here this weekend. We still certainly could, but it's feeling less likely at this point. But until that happens, until we start printing full candle bodies above this 100K level, I'm not confident that we're getting that breakout to a new all-time high, so we can get to those 120, that 120 range, that 150 range, that potentially that 250 range that a lot of people are talking about. Now, these are targets way down the line here in terms of where we sit in the cycle. Later this year, possibly even into 26. I don't know. Could happen as soon as next quarter, and could happen as late as 2026. We just have to see how things are developing in this crazy freaking environment that we live in. And in terms of what's happening with the S&P, I would say there's a lot of uncertainty about what's happening in terms of what the new administration is doing or planning to do. So I think that has more influence on what's happening with the S&P and risk on assets as a whole. So yeah, that's somebody just posted in our channel a meme of the CEO of ByBit, who was doing a live stream a little while ago, and I watched this happen. It's like he's chugging a Red Bull to try and get through this. And so these guys are doing damage control as hard as they possibly can. That is not a good sign. So let's go to the order book now and take a look at what things are looking like here this morning, or well, now it's afternoon time here, my time. But as you can see, price has made a big reversion here and coming into support at the 96K level. There's a little void below here. Some of this liquidity has moved down, right? So going to be interesting to see how this develops. We saw, we had seen over the course of the week, we had seen after here was the dip down to 93 and change, and then we saw blocks of bids coming in and price reacting to that, right? It stair-stepped up. These guys had no intention of getting filled, by the way. Stair-stepped up. This one here, when I saw this happen, I was like, oh, was that maybe a big market order that they pulled it here? Did it turn into a market order? No, it did not. And so, that's something that you always have to consider. Here's another situation, right? Bids were pulled. Did they turn into a market order? We look down here. No, it did not. In fact, there's selling happening here, and there's a lot of selling happening here. So now, where we sit on this weekend, we could ping this entire range. It's going to take some time to figure out if there's any contagion about with this ByBit issue, and where they go from here. Let's see. We got a couple of comments here. Trung says, "I think ByBit CEO should create some meme coins and rug pull to buy back ETH for users." Yeah, that would be consistent with what we're seeing in this market these days. You know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Let's what's Don got to say? Always thought that any breakout move should be so swift and forceful that it prevents leverage retailer traders from jumping on the bandwagon. Otherwise, the market has to shake them out later. That's an interesting theory. I'm not gonna dispute that, but I've often seen breakouts develop over time, and I like seeing things at least develop in term, like the big move that is often quick, but I like the consolidation that we're seeing in the charts here, to be honest with you, to get to those levels. And so I wouldn't consider that big breakout a real good solid breakout until we consolidate up above this 100K level, like we've done here in the 90 to 100K range. And so let's see some of this up above here, and then we have a real foundation for that bigger move up. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But that's a pretty interesting point there, Don. Thanks for sharing it. So in terms of order book liquidity and order flow, again, here's what I'm watching. I'm watching to see, just as we saw the order book dynamic changing and stair stepping up and price moving with it, we're now starting to see it step down a little bit. Now, this is very, very recent, so we have to see how things develop from here, and probably what happens over the weekend isn't necessarily going to be the legit move. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of the levels that we're identifying here, and also, of course, I'll be watching order flow, and this pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Everybody's selling at the moment, and so that doesn't give me a lot of confidence in buying at this level. In terms of the levels that you want to buy, I don't think this news changes anything, to be honest with you, right? If you were thinking, okay, maybe we're not going to go back down to the 90K level or the 93K level, and I should take a position here. You might reevaluate that, see how things develop, right? There's currently only like 9 million sitting there at 96K. If this develops and gets more behind it, then sure, we could say, all right, maybe this is going to be our local support. But if this erodes or it gets hit and they start breaking down, I'm going to wait until buying resumes with volume like we saw here this morning to add to my position. And in terms of where I add, again, you have whatever levels you're looking at. I don't think that this has really changed much in terms of the technical analysis, right? My levels are all exactly the same as they were yesterday in that regard. And in terms of picking up those, getting those orders filled, I told you I came up a little bit short the other day, trying to get filled on that dip, and it didn't quite reach my entry. I think I was at like 92,750, something like that, because I was anticipating a higher low coming in here. Well, this might be the higher low, so this might be the new level, that yearly open level. So just to show you what that looks like, yearly open was January, opened at 93,350. Okay, so that might be a decent target. So I'm going to watch and see how liquidity kind of develops around that area. This would be that 90. I can zoom in on this a little bit. All right, so 93. We don't have a ton of liquidity here just yet, so I'll be looking to see if kind of we see more moving in above it to support that, and and protect this area. So to do that, I would want to see, like we see this little tiny bid ladder here. I would want to see that extending and developing here above 93K. This, I don't have a ton of confidence here. Like I said, it's less than $9 million, so there's not a lot there. Aside from that, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and see if we can get any perspective, gain some perspective, if there's any major blocks of liquidity moving around. And so far, not so much. We need a little bit of contrast here. Not a ton. 100 million still seems to be the biggest concentration of liquidity in the order book. There's about 90 million in ask liquidity sitting there. And our biggest support level is still down at that 91.5K range. And so this, as you can see, is insulated a little bit with what's happening here above 93. And so whether we break through this or not, and whether this holds or not, remains to be seen. That's why we watch we get a sense of how things are developing, right? At the moment, a lot of sell pressure, whales thinking about buying here, but guess what? This is weekend volatility right here, right? There's now a void here. Very easy for price to move back up. And it very well may do that, right? Might lure in a whole nother group of FOMOers to come in here at this point. I personally would wait for things to settle down at this point and maybe revisit things. Obviously, I'm watching the order book over the weekend to see if things develop, but really it's around Sunday afternoon when we start seeing things develop towards the weekly close and how things shape up next week. That is probably going to have the most sustainability in terms of price action. With that, unless you guys have any other questions or comments you want to share, I'm going to wrap it here. I hope this has been insightful for you and gives you a little bit of a little ammunition, at least a little food for thought before you ape into pushing buttons. And again, if you have assets on ByBit and you can get them off, I strongly suggest that you do that just as a precautionary measure, just to protect yourself, because there's a chance that they shut down and you don't get any of it back. So be mindful of that. Even if you can get some and not all of it, take what you can get for now. And with that, I'm going to wrap it, guys. Hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic weekend, doing something you love with the people you love. I know that's my plan. Hope it's yours too. Be good. Talk to you later.